a lot of the fan base who support PBC, they would tell you that Canelo is ducking Charlo. Now, I'm not even going to bring up the offer that Offer said he made Charlo. Let's forget that. Let's take that off the table for now. Let's deal with right now. If there's a duck going on, I need to know, has Al Heyman made a concerted effort to put that fight on? Who from the PBC has been pushing for that fight? This is what I'm saying, like, Al Heyman doing the no talk, I'm the advisor thing, okay, that's his shtick, fair enough. But you need a promoter to go out there and actively push for these fights. And who from the PBC has done that to say that Canelo's ducking him? Now, I'm not naive enough to think that shouting online is how fights are made. No, fights are made in the boardroom. We know Heyman went after Canelo for Caleb Plant. We know they tried to make that for Undisputed, but can you show me a paper trail where they've really tried to make Charlo versus Canelo? In some respects, I kind of feel for Al Heyman because from what I'm hearing, a lot of the PBC contingent are turning against him. When Al never put himself up to be the messiah for black or African American fighters, they did that. They put that on Al. When the whole AJ and Wilder thing was going back and forth, how many times did I say that Al Heyman is not Malcolm X in there? He's a businessman. And look, he's done some great things for Mexican fighters, black fighters predominantly, because that's his predominant client, is black African-American boxers. And it's unfair to think that Al Heyman can save African-American boxing if people ain't buying the pay-per-views. And look, I don't know where he's going with this Thurman Barrios pay-per-view thing and this Ortiz Charles Martin pay-per-view thing. I don't know where he's going with that. For some reason, Fox seemed willing to tolerate these bullcrap pay-per-views, but Ugas and Spence, which is on Showtime, that's a decent pay-per-view. That's more like it. I'm sure Steven Espinoza wouldn't accept Ortiz versus Martin and Thurman Barrios. I don't think they'd be accepting that. Canelo got a nice bag from the PBC and became undisputed in the process. And if he felt there was a reason to go back over there, he would go and take on the likes of Charlo and Benavidez. The PBC contingent are making a lot of noise, and I'm hearing a lot of people saying that Canelo needs them two names to fulfill the quality of his resume, and I vehemently disagree with that. I just don't agree. I'm not sold on Benavidez and Charlo, not at all. I think a lot of people are mad that Canelo took the bag and then just blanked the PBC. But to me, like, I'm just talking about the supporters of the PBC. It's very childlike. It was almost like a self-esteem thing. Look, we've got Canelo. We took him away from Eddie. And that's not boxing. Boxing is an unstable, inconsistent, unpredictable market. You can't be looking for victories through networks and promoters. It's moronic. And most of the victories you do get are very short-lived because it's all ups, downs, and swings and roundabouts, or however you want to phrase that. Like, it's very emotional and irrational outbursts from a lot of these uploaders. They're saying that Canelo has ducked Charlo. Well, that's your opinion. Based on what? Is that true? Have you ever thought that Al giving Canelo that 40 million bag can't afford to give him another 40? Because that's what DAZN are having to pay out to get Canelo back there. Maybe Al hasn't got another 40 to give him to fight Charlo. What, do you think he's going to take 2 chances on the trot? I mean, he gambled big on limited Caleb Plant beating Canelo with that bag. And now he's going to do it again with limited, in my opinion, limited Charlo. How much is Charlo going to want? Maybe another 10 like Caleb? And you're going to have to give Canelo 42? You're saying that Canelo's ducking Charlo, but that's not the only way to look at this scenario, I'm afraid. As much as that might hurt your feelings. You don't need to go to Harvard to know that chucking $80 million down the toilet, 2 fights on the bounce in a matter of, 6 months or so, is not good business. And according to Eddie Reynoso, there's been offers from the PBC and Matchroom, and nothing is finalized as yet. Nothing's finalized. Maybe Al might throw another bag at Canelo and bet on Charlo. It's a brave bet. I live in Britain, so I'm not subscribed to Showtime or Fox. I've got DAZN, and Canelo has signed this 2-fight deal with DAZN. Do you see me jumping up and down? Look, we've got Canelo back. We're going out on a sinking ship. And it's childish, and it's just a dumb perspective from a boxing fan. Canelo's came back over to the app to duck Andrade again. That's what it seems to me. I wonder how Andrade feels. After his last victory, he had his mum in there and family members, and they were asking Eddie, well, what's happening to these big fights with the likes of Golovkin and Canelo? And there's Eddie, trying to look on the bright side and be positive. But there's nothing much he can do, and if there is, he's not doing it. He can't get them guys in the ring to fight Andrade. So Andrade's not getting the fight. Not with Canelo, not with Golovkin, not with Munguia. Basically all the lucrative names. I don't know if Munguia is a lucrative name. He could be potentially. But all the names worth talking about from 160 to 168 on DAZN will not fight Andrade. He doesn't have a fight. And Charlo doesn't have a fight at the moment of any significance either. Seems like a good time for them to fight each other. If Al can extend bags to Canelo consistently and Tyson Fury, you have to wonder why he can't extend the bag to the likes of Andrade and Terence Crawford. What's up with that exactly? What about Andrade, Danny Jacobs fight? If Jacobs can get through John Ryder tomorrow, isn't that makeable for Eddie? Jacobs don't really turn smoke down like that. He hasn't for a little while. He was ducking Golovkin for a little while before he fought him, but he got himself together and fought him. No, I'm not jumping all around the place because, look, just like the PBC guys, you're getting bumped off with these pay-per-views now to watch Furman fight Barrios. They're going to try and bump me off and try and get me to pay to watch Canelo fight Golovkin a third time, and I'm not paying for it. Even with British prices, I'm not paying for it. I'm not paying for Canelo to fight Dimitri Bivol on principle. Now, I don't think Bivol is boring per se, but if you're going to say Andrade is boring and doesn't sell, wouldn't Bivol be in the same box and his name is right there with Golovkin as a potential opponent? I'm not having it. I'm not having it. I'm just not having it. But Bivol has got this fringe fan base out there and members of the media who are very biased, very, very biased. You try and tell them that Bivol is boring because he's not getting stoppages. They're not having it. No, Bivol, you don't get it. It's technical. But, when other fighters are technical, they don't want to give no credit to that. They want to call it boring. They want to talk about, he can't sell. Well, on both them criteria, Bivol is right up there, if we're going to go there. Didn't Bob Arum veto the Beterbiev Bivol fight because he said Bivol was boring? That was Bob's words. The IBF had just allowed Golovkin to sit on the sidelines, no mandatories, no pressure on him at all to take a mandatory, which could potentially jeopardize the Canelo fight. We know Andrade tried to get the WBC to mandate him as the WBO champion to face Charlo. And what happened next? They hit him with another mandatory 2 in a year against Janibek. I don't know if Andrade's taking that fight. I think he should take it. If you're going to be a title belt holder, you should abide by the rules. If that's what you want to be as a title belt holder, abide by the rules or just be a prize fighter and just fight without a sanctioning body putting their name behind the fight. Eddie gave us this speech that he couldn't get Crawford the fights that he wants for the money he'll be looking for, but you can give Canelo 85 mil to fight Golovkin, who's been inactive for 2+ years with his old legs, hasn't done nothing for ages, and Bivol, who hasn't got nowhere near the mainstream radar with what he's done in boxing. What excitement has Bivol brought to boxing? I don't get it, really. Okay, fair enough. Eddie might not be able to deliver Spence or even Ugas. But I'm sure he could get Crawford the same level of opponents that he's getting Canelo for 80-odd million. And he wouldn't be paying Crawford no 80-odd million, would he? Bud would come a lot cheaper than that. But for Eddie, it's all Canelo. I'm a Canelo fanboy. So it is what it is, man. I'm sure with a new lease of life out of the clutches of Bob Arum, that Terence's fortunes will improve. If Eddie is supposed to be this great promoter that he says he was, why wouldn't he want to work with the pound-for-pound consensus number 1 or 2? Why wouldn't he? Show Bob how it's done. I wonder if Bob scared him off, or if he's scared of Bob after he made that purse bid for Cambosos versus Lopez and won it. I wonder if Bob's scaring him off now, not wanting to fuck with Bob. I don't get it, because he doesn't have to do no long-term contract with Bud. He hasn't even had a talk with him, you know, and went over what's potentially out there for him. Don't tell me his career is just like reliant on PBC fighters. I'm not hearing that. There's other options, there's other territories. Danny Jacobs is fighting in the UK. But you can't get Bud a fight in the UK. Isn't Bud open to it? There's stuff that can happen for Bud. Yeah, get Bud some fights in the UK. Get him to do some punditry work. These are postures we never saw him in Top Rank or ESPN. Get him on some shoulder programs. Eddie's good at talking. That's what Bud needs. He needs somebody to sell him. Well, he's not on an auction block. You know, he needs a spokesman. 42 million for Golovkin. Is this why we're not getting Dillian versus Fury? Is this what he was planning? I'd rather watch Dillian and Fury than Canelo and what's his name? And Bivol any day of the week than Canelo versus Golovkin 3.